Exciting times. You know, you normally would have the polo on, but I'm wearing my Fear the Fang. My son came up with the slogan for this shirt, and it's going to catch fire. We're going to fear the fangs. They should be. See? He designed it. He got Fear the Fangs. Mean-looking Lobo there. Today, exciting for first day of spring practice. I mean, first time to be around people and talk about sports and stuff. And, I mean, just testament to New Mexico. Everybody's doing their part. Social distancing, washing hands, staying home, vaccinating, all those wonderful things so that we can get back to some kind of normalcy. We gave the football team a little, I mean, I'm big on, and I talk about it all the time, protecting the past, the present, and the future of Lobo football. So today was a little bit of a history lesson in the team meeting to start. You have to go all the way back to 1938. Ted Shipke was the head coach. That was our first conference championship for the Lobos in football. And then we had a dry spell all the way up until 1962. Bill Weeks was the head coach then. He won championships in 62, 63, and 64. And that was our last conference championship all the way back to 1964. We talked about the winningest coach by number of victories. Obviously, he's in our building. Coach Long was 65. Okay, pretty cool stuff. Now, before we were in a conference, and our football coach from 1920, 1930, Roy Johnson, who Johnson Field is named after, Johnson Gym, did some amazing things for our university, was a really good football coach. He's actually second in wins with 41. And then Bill Weeks actually has 40 right behind him. Pretty cool. Now, they weren't in a conference, so he didn't have a chance to win a conference championship. And then we're going to hear the people say Marv Levy is the winningest coach all time by percentage, which is true. He's 14-6. He had 273 seasons, and actually I had a chance to meet Bill Levy. He was very fond of his time here. Pretty cool. I mean, he led the Buffalo Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls and was a head coach here at the University of New Mexico. That's pretty cool. I told those guys, you know, I got a long way to go to get to 66, so I can talk a little noise to Coach Long. Took him 11 years, so hopefully we can do it a little bit sooner than that. And then we'll have along the way, championships to go with that. Go back to 1970, the kids learned a little bit. 1970, now Coach Long has finished second at the University of New Mexico 5 times, 3 as a coach and 2 as a player. In 1970, as the WAC Offensive Player of the Year, they went to Tempe and took on an Arizona State team that was ranked 6th in the country with an opportunity to win the Western Athletic Conference. And Coach Long had an unbelievable day, rushed for 206 yards, threw it for 105 on 5 of 6 passes. They had a young man by the name of J.D. Hill, who's a good friend of mine from my time over there at Arizona State, that had an unbelievable day. He had 284 yards receiving. And Arizona State, now that's one of the better Arizona State teams in the history of Arizona State football. 1970, they went undefeated. They beat North Carolina State in the Peach Bowl. And we came really close to beating them with Coach Long as the quarterback to win a conference championship. So we've been close. Coach Long has been close numerous times. My time with him here, once as a player with Coach Franchione, we finished second. And then we finished second 3 other times with Coach Long. And so the kids got a little bit of that today. Obviously, when you can talk about one of your coaches being as unbelievable a player as Coach Long was, it resonates with them because he's one of them. He's one of us. And we're striving to win our 5th conference championship. It started today out on the field. Last year, the expectation was for them to learn how hard we wanted to play. Well, they kind of know where we expect them to be, how we expect them to do it. Now we have to do it better, fundamentally, be a better football team, and then continue on. We're never going to slow down. I mean, when they get between the white lines, they need to understand the temper that we want. I mean, it's get to the ball in a bad humor. It's have fun and be a very aggressive football team. And outside the white lines, they've got to be great citizens and great people in our community. And we've done a great job since we got back in July adhering to what we're asking them to do. And I think our entire athletic department has done a phenomenal job. When I first got here, we had some things that happened at some parties and stuff like that within our athletic department. And it would be very easy to continue down that path. Now COVID changed it and the kids responded. And you have to be proud of all of our athletes. And then now we've got our women's basketball program is 2 wins away from winning the conference championship, what we aspire to do. And Coach Bradbury was out of practice today. We're playing those games in the pit. I might be sneaking in the catwalk or something, but we're going to partake. I mean, that's awesome. You have a chance to win a conference championship and you get it at home. So baseball's first place in the Mountain West right now at 3-0 in league. right now in 2021, the Lobos are undefeated. So in football, so this is exciting times. What we got? Go ahead, Brandon.
So first spring, you're hoping to get a full spring.
Sure.
Time. What is the excitement day one compared to last year's spring? I'm curious. What's just like? Is there different emotions this time around?
We're further ahead than we were. Obviously, we don't have to yell at them where to go. We don't have to yell at them how fast to get there. They know what we expect them to do, how we expect them to get there. So the organization was better. I thought the tempo of practice was a lot better. Now we don't have pads on yet. We can't have pads on until Friday. So I thought the temperament was good. I thought they bumped into each other a little bit, but they're learning how to do that, because you can be a really good football team practicing without pads and still go full speed and kind of know how to bump into each other without hurting each other. And so I thought we were better at that today. There weren't nearly as many bodies on the ground as there were last year on day one. So I think that's progress. But I mean, we have a long way to go to be a good football team. But
Coach, that said, can you see where you guys closed it out those last 2 games? Can you see where that momentum is carried over?
I think the momentum carried into the weight room to start back in February 1 when we started. Now I say this too. People around here are getting excited because we won the last 2 games, and the talk was like, we're never going to lose again. Well, that ain't going to happen yet. That was another part of the history lesson this morning. 1927, Coach Johnson was our head coach. They went 8-0-1. That's the only undefeated team that's played more than 3 games in the history of our program. Now they tied the 5th game of the year, but they went 8-0-1. I mean, we have a long way to go before we can get there. But because the people of Albuquerque want that, that's awesome and exciting, and people are ready for something like that. So now we have a long way to go. It's still a marathon, not a sprint. We've done the first leg, and we're getting in better shape. But the momentum in the weight room was probably more important than anything. And now they know what we expect them to do. So I mean, they're excited to get better. Winning is always changes everything, and they have the last 2 times we won. So that's kind of what's on their mind.
Can I follow up with that by asking Isaiah, last spring he wasn't even attempting your depth chart. Do you see changes now as far as his confidence and how it seems like the guys respond?
They do. Isaiah's a natural leader. I mean, I tell the kids all the time, if you want special things, if you want to be treated different, be a good player. And Isaiah wore 13 last year. He had 3 on today, but he came in and asked if he could have number 6. I gave it to him because, I mean, guys that earn those things, they can ask those questions and get those things. Somebody that comes in that hadn't played a snap and they want a number, they ain't getting it. So in the weight room and in the off-season workouts, he's getting after him. Now, he did that to the scout team for the first 5 weeks of the season when they weren't giving the defense a good look. He'd rip into them worse than the coaches sometimes. And because he's a good player and they're used to hearing it, they respond. And then now he's gone out there and he led us to 2 wins. So now he has something behind that voice, and he's naturally a good leader. So it's his job to lose. The competition is wide open though. There's nobody on our football team that has a spot locked up. But I mean, you can see his demeanor. He's a very, very confident young man, and you need that spot. You need that quarterback to be that guy.
How big of a spring is this for the secondary? You guys recruited quite a bit of secondary class so far.
I wish they were here. They won't be here till August, but the guys that are coming back, I mean, Corey Hightower has really done a really good job and changed his body. He's a very, very strong young man in the weight room and has no idea how strong he is. I mean, Tony Collier coming back, Dante Martin coming back. Those guys, we moved Antonio Hunt inside from corner to safety. Nick Wilson is playing at safety, and then Tavian Combs. I think Tavian Combs has a chance to be one of those bright Lobos that we've had in our future. I mean, he's in our past. He's a very talented young man and a really good football player, and he has the right mindset. We obviously need to get a lot better in the secondary. One, through recruiting, so hopefully when those guys get here in August, they're as good as we thought they were on tape. And then the guys that we have now had for 2 years in our program, we're going in on the 2nd year, they should be better. Now, we can say the secondary is as bad as they want, but there's times when we're watching coverage and the quarterback's standing back there all day, so we've got to get better up front. We've got to be able to rush the passer with a 4-man rush. and then those guys won't be left out to dry. Now, some of those assignment mistakes, like the Nevada game where we give up deep balls in cover 2, that's on both coaching and getting those players in a position where they understand the scheme so they can make those plays. I mean, if you look at last year, there's 3 games that I think we screwed up. The Nevada game, we lose 27-20. We have a 10-0 lead. If we don't give up 3 big plays, we win that game. That's one of the better teams in our league. Hawaii, we're up 20-7, and then we turn the ball over in the third quarter, and we give up 2 long plays in man coverage. I thought we were better than Hawaii. Obviously, we screwed them up as coaches because we didn't coach them good enough to make those plays in the secondary. And then the Utah State game, they outplayed us for 3 minutes and 56 seconds, scored 28 points in that amount of time. And that's the night that I told our football team we're a terrible football team. You change the outcome of those 3 games, which is very easily, we're 5-2 and 3rd in the league. So we're competitive. We still have a long way to go, but we're competitive, and they get that. So competitive. Coach Birmingham said the other day, second place is just the first loser.
Talking about that, when you said that this is a terrible football team, were you concerned how they would respond? And
Nope.
How would they respond?
The reason that I wasn't afraid to tell them that is because I told them from day one I'll never lie to them. It doesn't mean I know everything. It means I have an opinion, and my opinion is in great favor of this football team. And so when I think they're really good and when I think they do a good job, whether it be in football, school, academically, social life, I tell them. And when I think they're doing a terrible job, I tell them. And a football team that gives up 28 points on all sides of the ball in a 3-minute and 56-second period, that's a terrible football team. It's terrible coaching, terrible playing, all the way around. And so this isn't everybody gets a participation trophy. We don't play that game around here. So when you're good, we'll tell you you're good. And when you're bad, we're going to tell you you're bad. And I think they respect that. They don't like being called a terrible football team, so there's one way to solve it. Don't be. And so
Continue to respond?
Oh, yeah. As long as I'm here, it'll be black and white. There's no gray area. I won't lie to them and tell them that they're better than they are, and I won't tell them they're worse than they are. We could be a championship team and just be a good football team. Now, if we get when we win a championship around here, I'll tell them they're great. That's okay, even if we're not. He is, C.J. Boone. He's out there wearing number 13 in white. He's fast. He's really fast. He's a little skinny, but he's long. He's 6'3". They timed him in high school, and you can see all these UCR reports and different videos and stuff. They timed him at a 4.37 40. There's a handful of guys in the world that can run that fast. He's got to get stronger in the weight room so he can use not only his speed to his advantage, but his length. But he's going to be a good player. He's got 4 years, and so Coach Blackman will do a really good job, and Coach Warheim and those guys of developing him. He's got a big tattoo of some wings on his neck. I asked him if that's how he got the 4.37. Is that's from? You better use those things and not waste them. So he's going to be a good player. And then the other transfer that we have, Jeffrey Blake from San Diego State. Coach Long recruited out of Georgia when he was there. Sometimes when staffs change, things like we had some kids that decided to go other places. So did he. And Coach Long had a good relationship with the young man, and he's a good-looking kid. He's 6'4". He's a little light right now. He's 215. He was at 230 at one point. So get him back in the weight room, but he moves around really good. I think those 2 kids will help us next year. And then the other 3 kids that are here mid-year, Malachik is going to be a good player. He's physical. He's one of those kids at quarterback that he could play tight end. He could play linebacker. He's got that personality, but he's a quarterback. And so he's a real physical, big, strong, fast kid. A.J. Odom's a corner is here. And then I think the steal of the last class, and you hate to put pressure on people, but Aaron Dumas is here. That young man is talented. He's a good-looking kid. It'll really help having him in spring practice for these 15 practices before we get to the fall. So those kids did a good job of graduating high school early, and they're here now. Come May, especially with things opening up, they're going back home for prom and senior week and all that because I'm big into that stuff, and they need to be there. And they miss a couple workouts, okay, they'll be all right for it. They need to go do that. You only get that time once in your life, and they need to go have fun doing it.
Danny, last year, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary when they shut things down.
March 8th.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, what are your memories from that point in time? What was your reaction to the NBA pulling players off the court and things shut down here? what was going through your mind, the players' mind?
I vividly remember Roy Gobert touching the microphone and coughing on it and making a joke of it, and then he tests positive that night. And then 30 days, they stop the NBA for 30 days, and then we don't see him again until they go to the bubble. We had the first case in Bernalillo County that Friday, and then we practiced actually the next day. We were put on an abbreviated spring break for 3 weeks, and we were making plans, and this is when I became very good at making schedules. We were making plans for how to finish spring ball. And then 108 days later, we see our kids in July. And I would have never thought in a million years that could happen in 2020. We've been resilient around here, though. Obviously, President Stokes and Eddie were committed to giving us an opportunity to play. And then our student athletes, you got to give them the most credit. The Tuesday before October 20th, before we're getting ready to play Colorado State, and we were told that we couldn't play. Right out there on that hill, that might be the toughest team meeting I've ever had in 20 plus years of coaching. Having to go and tell them, sorry guys, we're practicing, but you ain't playing. We can't practice anymore. We keep telling them that they're going to play in August. I mean, we were playing on August 29th for the longest time, up until like August 15th, until they decided to postpone the Mountain West Conference. And then they postponed it for a week, and then they cancel it, and then they decided to bring it back. And so you got to give our football team credit, because all along they're believing, okay, we're going to keep working, we're going to keep going down this path. Okay, they're going to put us in small groups. Okay, we're going to work in small groups. So what? We had 10 different stations with coaches all over, and stayed socially distanced and kept working. And then they told, okay, you're going to play on October 24th, and then October 20th, you told, well, you're not playing again. And at some point, they could have said, man, this guy's full of nonsense. I mean, they keep dangling that carrot and ripping it from us. I mean, it's the old Charlie Brown pulling the football. I mean, Lucy had all kinds of fun with Charlie Brown. They were resilient and they believed in what we're doing. So that means they have faith, and they have a true belief in the program that we're building. And then we don't really get an opportunity to practice. We're practicing in small groups before San Jose State and go out there and play a competitive football game. I mean, that game is tied going into the fourth quarter, 21-21, and then we give up big plays. I mean, we're synonymous for giving up big plays. We need to fix that, obviously. But to see how resilient they were, and then we go out of town for 42 days, and we don't have a single positive COVID test, and they live in that environment and thrive in it and get better as the season goes along. That's a resilient group right there. Now, that was the 2020 football team. That team's gone. Now it's the 2021 football team, and they learned from those guys. So that's resilient would be my favorite word for that group.
Do you like how, in a lot of ways, you became the success story of what can go right during COVID-19, where some other teams just kind of really struggled through that? People seem to really look at UNM's football team and say, well, if it's going to happen the right way, that's it. Mm-hmm. Do you like that narrative? I do.
I do. I mean, I believe that goes back to me growing up and 5 years old, my dad telling me it doesn't matter what. I mean, I played soccer as a youngster all the way up until high school, and it didn't matter the situation. You didn't complain about it. You don't pout about it. You deal with what you have, and you make the most of it. And if you're good enough, then you're going to come out of it on top. If you're not, then you fight like heck to get there. And Coach Long had the same mantra our whole time together, the 20 plus years. If you have a situation that comes up and you act like you know what you're doing, the kids are going to follow suit. If you act like it's a big deal and you don't handle it well, shoot, that ship's going to sink. I mean, just like the Titanic did. I mean, that thing went down fast as could be. So we just act like it's been there before. And so our kids did too. And I mean, I'm proud of them for where we're at and the progress that we've made.
Tell us the history of the shirt that you said your son designed it.
So the Fear the Fangs. Okay, everywhere I've been, it's been fear something, and he came up with it was fear the fork, fear the spear. So that's his slogan. Fear the Fangs is what he came up with. We had a collaborative design, and so we're gonna have them all over the stadium. You watch. Sure.
Are the players wearing those too?
Not yet. This is a collector's item right now. We got to get it out there.
I just have one more question about
Yes.
critiquing punting. Where do you guys stand start spring with those punters?
Jared Long is our punter right now. Andrew Shelley and George Steinkamp will do all three. That goes back to when I played here, the punters and kickers. And then we'll have anybody on our football team that wants to try. When I originally came here, I came here as a DB, and we didn't have enough specialists. So during specialist period and stuff, I'd punt and ended up becoming the backup punter just because I was the best one after Jason Bloom. We'll try that with some of our guys, but right now Jared Long's the punter. We'll do some stuff with Isaiah and Trey, kind of what the Fresno stuff did, and Nevada with the quick from the quarterback, because that stuff can be very valuable. And then after spring, we'll evaluate how good Jared is, and if he's good enough, then we'll move forward, and if he's not, then we'll go find somebody else. We still have 3 scholarships left. And then the kicking duties, Donovan Murphy's no longer on our team, and I'll leave it at that. And George Steinkamp and Andrew Shelley are in a great competition to see who's going to be the kicker going into next year. And then we'll have some other kids that walk on. We have the young man that I'm not allowed to say names, but we're recruiting from locally here in town, El Dorado High School, that is going to walk on and have a chance to compete to play. So that position will be, I didn't say anything illegal. That'll be, I just acknowledge that we were recruiting a young man, and he's admitted to school and walking on. So that'll be good. What else? Go ahead, Van.
Could you talk about, I know you got some super seniors back, one of these boys.
Mm-hmm.
What could he have? What you could expect that because he contributed?
For sure. Of the 14 COVID seniors coming back, that's kind of what we're calling them. We probably should come up with a better word, the super seniors. Up front, definitely will help us. The Kyle Stapleys, the Austin Cooks, the Ben Davises of the world, the Joey Nobles, Ben Gonzales, we would have been very, very thin on both lines. And if you're not good up front on either side of the ball, you're gonna get your tail whooped. So Joey, being a great player, all conference nominee, he's really gonna help us. And the off season within our program, he's already up to 245 pounds. He played all last year at 230. And so getting him up to 250 with good weight, he'll be one of the best D linemen in this league. Ben's got a long way to go conditioning-wise, but he'll help us. And then Bryce Santana, these guys all the time when they're young and seniors in high school, for some reason people feed them with this, you need to get up to 300 pounds, you need to be big. Well, they turn into fat slobs and they can't move. And I was telling Bryce for a month, man, you're fat, what are you doing? And I said, like I said, see, Steve, I don't worry about hurting their feelings. I tell them the truth. And the young man came back at 268 pounds and looks exactly like we want him to look. And it'll be good for him mentally because he worked his tail off to get where he is. And now he's stronger now at 268 than he was at his sloppy 290. And so he will have a chance to help us. OJ Bartley coming off he had turf toe. His toe literally, his big toe touched the top of his foot. His toenail touched the top of his foot in practice and made it to the last 2 games, was able to play. He's had a pretty good offseason, so he'll help us next year. And then Omar Darme and those guys should be able to step up. So the older guys coming back, we would have been at about 68 scholarships, 70 scholarships with the 31 seniors we graduated if it weren't for the super seniors. And so they're really going to help us in year 2 of our transition. I said it on December 17th, year 2 is going to be ugly, guys. We're going to lose 31 seniors and we're not going to be able to replace them all. Well, nothing good came out of a pandemic, but we have 14 guys that we wouldn't have on our team if we didn't. So I'm going to count that as a blessing of that, coming out of that. It gives those kids an opportunity to play football. And so they'll help us fill a gap and help us be more competitive next year. Go ahead, Steve.
What happened at the end of practice there with Jamarcus Bailey?
Oh, we do something every day, whether it be a competition of some kind. I said the other day we were doing stuff in our off-season training we had tug of war last week, and the defense lost. We usually have 5 matches, so it's an odd number, and the defense, it was 3-2 the offense. And so the winners and losers, there's consequences for losing, whether it be up downs, extra running, whatever it is. The defense was doing their up downs, and some of the offensive guys started joining in with them. And so I blew the whistle and started getting upset at those guys. I'm like, what are you doing? There's consequences for those losers. There are consequences for losing. Don't feel sorry for them. This isn't we're going to be, you watch them suffer. And so today it was, if Jamarcus Bailey, we just called out one guy, if Jamarcus Bailey can catch a punt first time, practice was over. No more running. And I told him, I don't care where you line up, and I told Jared, just kick the ball high. Jamarcus did a great job. I mean, turned his hips, run, caught the ball, and so they were celebrating because they weren't got to run anymore. So it was good. It's good for the good spirit. I mean, we'll have a O-line, D-line punt competition. I mean, we'll do different things every day. Sometimes we'll have a little obstacle course out there and compete. It's all about conditioning, and I think you can do a lot of things and get them better and still get them extremely tired. I mean, Friday we went out to the sand dunes and we competed. I mean, it was offense versus defense, up and down, and all those things. And they were hooting and hollering and having a good time. They had no idea how tired they were until we got back on the bus, and there wasn't very much talking. It was fun. That was. They had no idea. We just had a team meeting and said, all right, get your shoes or cleats. I don't care. We got 2 white yellow dog buses out there we're going to get on, and you'll see where we're going. They had no idea. Hadn't done it since we'd been here before. So they guessed, and then when we made the turn off of Rio Bravo onto Broadway and Bobby Foster Road, they started to get a little bit more quiet. And then when we parked the bus and told them to get out and it was nothing but weeds and hills, it was fun.
Anything else?
Awesome. Thank you guys. This is fun. Glad we're back.